Hey, high performance golfers, what if you had the skill that could collapse time for you, that could take your ultimate golf dreams and condense it into a year? Take those yearly goals that you set every single January and condense it into months, and take those monthly goals that you continue to push on and on and on and condense that into weeks and days. I'm here to tell you that that skill is available and you all can learn that skill. It's a skill that all of our students that achieve massive success, they have and they learned, or if they don't have it, they learn to have it, right? It's a taught and learned skill. It's the way that some of our students or one of our students have gone from shooting in the hundreds, the mid to high 50s, sometimes in the 60s, and go from there to shooting in the 80s, to being able to shoot rounds and 9-hole rounds as low as 43 in a span of 45 days. It's the way that, we get 10-year-old juniors go from hitting it, 123 yards to 190 yards in 7 days. Or getting a brand new junior who's, 10 years old also, to go from missing the ball and averaging 37 yards on day one to hitting it 180 yards in a couple months, in 3 months. Right? It's about massive acceleration, but not just massive acceleration, having such a fun time doing it. Right? You see, the thing that's holding you back from really getting to where you want to be is your commitment. Right? And now you might be hearing me say this and you might be saying, like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm really committed. I love practicing. But commitment is a word that, nowadays it's so loosely defined that everybody says they're committed, right? And if you're saying you're committed, I'm here to share, like, how do you know your commitment level? How do you know you're highly committed, right? You're highly committed when you know the thing that you really want is a must. It's not a nice to have. Like for me, it would be an amazing dream to win on tour, to win on PGA Tour, to play in some PGA Tour events, or to win a major, right? It would be amazing. It would be like a life dream to get there. But when I ask myself, am I highly committed to making that happen? The answer is no. There are other things in my life that, you know, I am highly committed to that would prevent me from committing to that. Does that mean if I'm committed, I'll get that? I'm not sure. But would it change the path that I'm on today? Would it change how I view, how I train, how I practice, how I get coached? 100%. Right? You see, one of the principles that we live by, and one of the principles that we coach our students, is commitment alters everything. So again, your commitment alters everything. Your commitment level determines how fast you'll get there, how excited you'll get there, how happy you'll be, right? And whether you and basically whether you get there or not. Right? Your commitment alters everything. Right now, you still might be saying, "I am a committed person." Right? And this is how you define how committed you are. Right? You define how committed you are when you know what's required to get you from where you're at to where you need to go. Right? And it's not the thing that, like, I gotta learn this swing technique, I gotta learn this mental stuff, I gotta go see this coach, I gotta see this instructor. Right? It's like, do you really know the requirements, the very specific requirements that's going to get you from where you are today to where you want to be as your ultimate dream, where you want to be at the end of the week, where you want to be at the end of the month for your goals, right? How clear are you on what's required, right? What skills are required, right? It's not the swing that you need. What skills are required to move you closer? Are you clear there? Because you see, if you're committed and if you're highly committed, you know what those requirements are, right? You have them written down on your desk, in your wall, in your room, everywhere. You're seeing your requirements all the time, right? That's a different level of commitment. It's not a nice to have. It's really looking at what is required for me to get there. And you start to define the requirement, the necessary required actions to get there, the necessary required skills to get there. And then you start the path to go get it. Right? For me, it'd be nice to be on tour. Yeah, but I'm not committed. For my student that went from the hundreds to be able to break 90 in 45 days, to be able to go from the mid 50s to high 50s to 43 for 9 holes in 45 days, that's a heavy, highly committed person. And we know that because we defined exactly what he needed to get to his dream golf. You see, his dream golf, right, wanted to get to the low 80s. That's his dream golf, is getting to the low 80s. In 45 days, he redefined his dream because he knew he was going to hit it. Right, over the next couple months here, right, he set a target to go above his ultimate dream, right, to break 80 and get into the 70s, from going from 100, like the mid 50s to high 50s, to break 80. Like, that is commitment there, because he knew what's required, and he did, right, and he started doing the work to get there as fast as he wanted to get there, right? And that's how you start to move fast. He's now excited about practicing, about hitting, because he has direction. He has the requirements right in front of him. He's reviewing the notes. He's reviewing the videos. He's asking questions. Like, those are all very, very specific requirements. How many times are you out there practicing, trying to figure it out yourself? Because I can tell you, one of the requirements, if you want to get there, you want to get there fulfillingly, happy, excited, and if you want to get there fast, one of the requirements is you can't do it alone. Another requirement is you got to invest in yourself. Are you investing in yourself? And not just time. Are you getting the right coaching? Are you developing your mind? Are you developing personally? Are you reading? Right? Those are all requirements that develop you, the person. So, do you have all the requirements listed to get you from where you are to where you want to get to? And if you don't, then you're not yet fully committed, because it takes a highly committed person to be writing these notes down, to be taking notes. As you're watching this, are you writing and taking notes down on how to be committed? Because if you are, you should be, and I would be, taking as much notes as possible to figure out, how do I accelerate my path, right? If you're listening to this and you're saying like, yeah, I kind of heard that before, right, and you're not that open, then you're not that committed. Or because being committed is being extremely open and hearing things that you may have heard before, but hearing it in a different way, extracting as much value with the time that you're spending, right? So first part about first part about being committed is just knowing what's required. And once you know what's required, you got to go out there and do it. So the second part is, are you doing what you said you would do? Because the highly committed always does what they say they would do, right? There's a power, there's a certainty, there's something about keeping your word, right? Keeping your word, not just with other people, but keeping your word with yourself. How often do you tell yourself, I'm going to go practice more, I'm going to practice an extra day, and then the weather changes, it gets too hot, gets too cold, maybe it rains a little bit, and then you say maybe next week? How many times you say, after my round today, I'm going to go practice some short game and chip for 15 or 20 minutes, or putt for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you have an off round, you have a bad round, and you're frustrated, say, oh, I'm too exhausted and I don't want to do it. Right? How many times do you break your word to yourself? Right? You see, commitment, highly committed people do what they say they're going to do, regardless of your feelings, moods, and emotions. Again, right? Highly committed people do what they say they're going to do, regardless of their feelings, their moods, their emotions. So if you're watching this, you're in school, you've been to school, you have an education, and we look at commitment. How committed were you to graduating? If you played a sport in school, whether it's high school and college, how committed were you to playing that sport? Because you got to keep up the grades, right? You did what you say you would do so you could play the sport. If you're an A student, and a straight A student or a B student, and you're committed to A's and B's, or maybe it's C's, whatever grade you're committed to, right? If you're highly committed, then it meant something to you and you did what was required, right? And you did what you said you would do. How many times studying, if you're an A student, that you didn't feel like studying, right? Your thoughts said, and your moods would get you like, no, it's not for me, but you had a final the next day, you had an exam, you had a project due, you had a paper due, but yet you did it. You see, that is commitment to things that mattered, right? Because grades matter for some of you. Look at other things in your life that matter most. Like, when did you do things and really do them to get the result that you wanted, right? So for you to accelerate your performance, to accelerate where you want to get to, and to guarantee that you're going to get to where you want to get to, is you have to just stop stopping, right? Most people don't get there because they stop. And the only reason why you stop is because you're not committed to the thing that you want to get to. So start to look at your commitment level. What would you do, or where would your golf be if all you did, like take away all the instruction, the new instruction that you want to learn, the new mental stuff that you want to learn, any of the new things that you feel that you need right now? How would your golf game be if you learned nothing new from today moving forward, but all you did was implement and execute the things you told yourself you would do, the things that you know you have to do, right? Practicing at home, working on the stroke, chipping in the yard, playing more on the golf course, right? Having conversations with people to talk about your golf game, to vent to, right? Having things where you debrief after your round, right? What would your golf game look like if, right, you had the conversations with your coaches that was required on a frequent basis? What would it look like if all you did was that, the things that you said you would do? Would you be in a different place, right? I can tell you 100% you'd be in a different place. You'd be massively further than where you are today, right? Imagine if you did 70% of all the things that you said you would do, right? That is a level of commitment, right? Do the things that you said you would do regardless of your thoughts, feelings, moods, and emotions, and watch what happens. So the thing that gets you to the dream golf, the thing that gets you to collapse time, condense time, start to dream bigger, is get committed. Do what is required. And 2, do what you say you're going to do regardless of thoughts, feelings, moods, and emotions. All right, my friends, you guys go ahead and get committed. And when you can commit to the things that matter the most, and you make it a must, not a make it a must and a non-negotiable, you will see how fast you start to move. And not just how fast you start to move, but how excited you are to get to that destination, so you can start to dream bigger and create new and bigger things for yourself. All right, you guys take care.